She was humiliated in front of an entire crowd, a police officer laughing at her dreams. But years later, the whole world watched as she commanded the most important mission in NASA history, and the same cop stood speechless as her name made headlines. It was supposed to be the best day of Dr. Maya Johnson's career, a day she had dreamed about since she was a little girl hunched over science magazines in her grandmother's living room. After years of sleepless nights, late study sessions, and the constant pressure of being the only black woman in nearly every advanced science classroom, Maya had finally arrived. At just 27, she had already achieved what most scientists only hope for by midlife, graduating top of her class at MIT, inventing a breakthrough system for stabilizing rocket thrusters, and being personally invited to present at the prestigious Houston Science Expo. It was the kind of event that launched careers, where news crews and industry giants mingled, scouting for the next big name in technology. That morning, Maya woke early, nerves tingling with anticipation. She carefully chose her favorite navy blue suit, the one her mother had bought her before her MIT graduation. It fit perfectly, professional, yet a subtle expression of her own style. Her hair, a mass of beautiful natural curls, was pulled back by a delicate gold clip, her grandmother's for luck. With her research folder clutched tightly under her arm, Maya rehearsed her speech over and over in her mind. She had poured her soul into every word, determined to make her family, mentors, and community proud. This was her moment. She parked her modest car several blocks away, wanting a quiet walk to calm her nerves. As she neared the convention center, Maya felt the electric buzz of the crowd, journalists, students, scientists in crisp white coats, and volunteers in bright expo t-shirts milling around the grand entrance. Banners fluttered, listing the names of the day's speakers, her name right there, sandwiched between two Nobel laureates. She smiled to herself, feeling the reality finally sink in. Then, suddenly, the morning peace shattered. Flashing red and blue lights strobed across the sidewalk. Tires squealed, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. Maya, caught mid-step, instinctively slowed as a Houston police cruiser swung in front of her, blocking her path just feet from entrance. The driver's door popped open. Out stepped Officer Mark Phillips, infamous among the locals for his intimidating manner and biting sarcasm. Broad-shouldered, his uniform crisp, mirrored sunglasses hid his eyes, but his posture was pure arrogance. He moved directly into Maya's path, one hand resting on his belt. "Ma'am, this isn't the right area for you. The Science Expo is inside, not out here." The words hung in the air, loaded and unmistakable. Maya could feel the subtle edge in his voice, the way he glanced at her face, her hair, then quickly down at her skin. She'd lived this scene before, ignored in stores, watched too closely, asked if she was lost on university campuses. Maya drew a breath, steadying herself. "I'm Dr. Johnson. I'm a speaker today. I have my badge," she said, her voice calm, polite, the same tone her mother had taught her for moments just like this. Phillips snorted, a cruel smile twisting his mouth. He raised his voice so the growing crowd could hear. "A scientist? Please. Who are you trying to fool? Maybe you're here to cater or clean up after the real speakers." A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. People craned their necks, eyes darting from the officer to Maya. Some onlookers snickered, nudging their friends. Others averted their gaze, uncomfortable but unwilling to intervene. Maya's cheeks flushed with humiliation. For a moment, she thought about turning around, disappearing into the anonymity of the city. But something inside her hardened, a lifetime of swallowing these moments, of pushing through, of refusing to let someone else's ignorance define her. She lifted her chin and reached into her bag, pulling out her official NASA badge, her greatest achievement, the proof of her place in this world. She held it out with a steady hand. Phillips barely glanced at it, rolling his eyes. "Nice prop," he said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Let's keep moving, folks. Expos for professionals only." The sting of his words sliced deep. Maya caught sight of her reflection in the window behind him, her proud stance, her badge, her trembling lower lip. She imagined her mother watching, her grandmother, all those little black girls who'd ever been told they were out of place. She swallowed her anger, blinking back tears. Not here. Not today. Clutching her folder, Maya stepped around the officer, her back straight, her heart pounding. She walked past the amused faces, past the security guard at the entrance, past a volunteer who offered her an awkward, sympathetic smile. Inside, the expo's energy surrounded her, posters, displays, voices echoing with scientific curiosity. But Maya barely noticed. The humiliation and anger radiated through her, threatening to drown out her confidence. She hurried to the green room, blinking back tears she refused to let fall. There, among the other speakers, mostly white, mostly older, mostly men, she sat in a corner, quietly collecting herself. A kind-faced woman, Dr. Lee, approached and offered her a cup of water. "You okay?" she whispered, sensing something had happened. Maya nodded, managing a weak smile. "I'm here to change the world," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. As she waited for her turn on stage, Maya replayed the encounter with Officer Phillips in her mind, his smirk, the laughter from a crowd, the cruel dismissal of her dream. She wondered how many other young women had walked away at moments like this, never returning to claim the place they had earned. When her name was called, Maya stood, squared her shoulders, and walked to the podium. The bright lights made it hard to see the audience, but she could feel all eyes on her. She placed her folder on the lectern, hands only slightly trembling. She started to speak, her voice gaining strength with each word. Her presentation wasn't just about rocket science anymore. It was about perseverance, about showing up even when the world tells you not to, about proving you belong. By the end of her talk, Maya had captivated the room. Reporters rushed to interview her, fellow scientists shook her hand, and students gathered to ask for advice. But as she accepted the applause, Maya couldn't help but think back to the officer outside, the crowd that doubted her, and the fire they had lit within her. That fire, she promised herself, would carry her further than any badge, any mocking laughter, any locked door ever could. And in that moment, Dr. Maya Johnson's real journey had just begun. That night, the city of Houston sparkled beyond Maya's hotel window. Neon lights flashed, cars hummed below, and the sounds of the city went on as if nothing had happened. But for Dr. Maya Johnson, the world felt still, a sharp, aching stillness she couldn't shake. She sat on the edge of her small bed, the folder of her speech untouched on the table, her phone lighting up with congratulatory texts she couldn't bring herself to answer. The memory replayed in her mind on a cruel, endless loop, the flashing police lights, Officer Phillips's sneer, the laughter of strangers. The humiliation wasn't just about her. It was about everything she represented. In that moment, she was every black girl ever doubted, every woman told she didn't belong, every underdog whose achievements were invisible to those who chose not to see. Maya pressed her palms against her eyes, fighting back tears. She tried to remember the faces of her family. Her mother, a nurse who'd sacrificed sleep and comfort to send Maya to the best schools. Her father, who worked nights driving a cab but still found time to help with science projects. Her grandmother, who'd read her stories about Mae Jemison and Katherine Johnson, black women who broke barriers at NASA before her. In the quiet of her hotel room, her mother's voice echoed through her memory, as clear as if she were right there beside her. "You don't have to be twice as good. You just have to be undeniable." Maya had heard those words her entire life. She knew the world saw her through a different lens, that brilliance from someone like her was often dismissed or ignored. But her mother never let her forget her worth. "Don't let them shrink you," she'd say. "Let your work be so bright, so true they can't look away." Tonight, those words were all Maya had to hold on to. She remembered her first day at MIT, a campus buzzing with ambition. She'd walked into her freshman orientation, heart pounding, only to be asked by a fellow student, "Are you here for the administrative staff meeting?" It wasn't the last time someone assumed she didn't belong. Professors sometimes looked past her in class, inviting the white and Asian male students to the front for extra opportunities. She remembered the sting of those moments, the urge to shrink, to hide. But Maya didn't run. She'd grown up watching her mother face disrespect in hospitals, her father face rudeness from passengers who couldn't believe a black man could know the city's streets so well. Her grandmother had cleaned houses for rich families, dreaming of space. Their resilience was in Maya's blood. That night in Houston, Maya faced a choice she'd faced so many times before: give in to the pain and humiliation, or turn it into fuel. She stared at her reflection in the hotel mirror, red-eyed, tired, but still standing. Quitting would mean surrendering her dreams to the prejudices of strangers. She could already hear her grandmother's gentle scolding. "Girl, if you run now, you'll be running your whole life. What's on the other side of that door is your destiny." Maya pulled her notebook from her bag, flipping to the page where she'd scrawled her mission statement in bold letters. "I will change the way the world sees black women in science. I will open doors for others. I will never let hate stop me." With new determination, Maya picked up her pen and began reviewing her research, jotting down ideas, questions, improvements. The pain of the day was still there, but now it was a flame she could control. Returning home from Houston, Maya threw herself into her work. She moved to Pasadena, California, and began her career at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. But the microaggressions didn't stop just because her resume had grown. At meetings, she'd walk in and watch male colleagues glance at her, then look away, assuming she was an intern or a visiting high school student. Sometimes when she spoke up with a brilliant idea, the room went quiet, until a senior scientist, usually a white man, repeated the same idea minutes later and received praise. She was mistaken for support staff more times than she could count. "Oh, can you print this for me? Are you here to take notes? Whose assistant are you?" Each incident stung, 100 tiny paper cuts. But Maya didn't allow herself to break. She worked twice as hard, triple-checking her equations, running simulations late into the night. If a meeting was at 8, she arrived at 7:45, prepared for every question. If someone overlooked her, she made sure her work was so flawless, so extraordinary, it couldn't be ignored. Her research on rocket propulsion soon attracted the attention of senior scientists. When her data models predicted and solved a problem that had stumped the team for weeks, her department head finally looked her in the eyes and said, "You just saved us millions of dollars, Dr. Johnson." It was a small victory, but it meant everything. Every insult became fuel. When colleagues called her girl or sweetheart, she responded with professional excellence. When someone took credit for her work, she documented everything, made her results public, and let the facts speak for themselves. But Maya also knew she couldn't survive alone. She sought out allies, other women, immigrants, and black scientists who had paved the way before her. She joined support groups, mentored interns from underrepresented backgrounds, and even started a monthly lunch group for black women in STEM at NASA. Together, they swapped stories, offered advice, and reminded each other that they were not alone. Maya's secret weapon was resilience, a kind built on the foundation of her family, her faith, and her unshakable belief in her own abilities. She learned to turn every moment of doubt into motivation. As the years passed, Maya rose through the ranks at NASA. From research assistant to project coordinator, then team leader, and finally project leader on one of NASA's most important missions. Her peers came to respect her not just for her intelligence, but for her calm under pressure, her ability to inspire teams, her refusal to quit. Looking back, Maya realized that the night in Houston, the pain, the humiliation, the doubt, had been a turning point. If she'd let it crush her, her story would have ended there. But instead, she let it forge her into someone stronger, more determined, more undeniable than ever. She became a quiet force within NASA. When things went wrong, it was Maya they called. When they needed someone to speak to students, to inspire the next generation, it was Maya's face on the poster. She hadn't just survived, she'd transformed. The insults, the microaggressions, the slights, they were still there, but they no longer defined her. She defined herself every single day through brilliance and unbreakable spirit. And as Maya looked out over the city lights that night, she made herself a promise. She would make sure no girl who looked like her ever had to feel as small as she had felt outside that expo. She would leave the door wide open behind her. 10 years had passed since that humiliating day outside the Houston Science Expo, but the sting of Officer Phillips' words still lived somewhere deep inside Maya Johnson. She'd carried that memory like a quiet ember, fueling her every achievement, never letting it become a chip on her shoulder, a star to reach for. Her journey through NASA had been marked by sleepless nights, bruising failures, small victories, and the gradual, hard-won respect of her peers. Now, at 37, Dr. Maya Johnson was no longer the overlooked new girl. She was the lead systems engineer and chief problem solver at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, the person whose name came up when others said, "We need a miracle." But no amount of awards, accolades, or titles could have prepared her for the crisis NASA was about to face. It started on a humid July evening, with the world watching NASA's most ambitious project in decades, the Ares 4 Mars mission. Billions of dollars, years of research, and thousands of people's dreams had all converged on this moment. The mission was simple in principle, impossibly complex in reality. Deliver a rover, laboratory, and supply module to the surface of Mars, all in perfect coordination. The project had been years in the making, and Maya had been there since its inception, designing algorithms, troubleshooting hardware, mentoring young engineers, and sometimes just making coffee at 3 a.m. Maya had barely slept in weeks. She hovered over her desk, screens casting eerie blue shadows, spreadsheets and code windows layered like the rings of Saturn. She watched telemetry data, ran last-minute simulations, and swapped messages with the International Control Team in Paris. At 11:23 p.m., just as she sipped her first coffee in hours, alarms screamed through mission control. Red banners flashed across every screen. System failure. Module offline. Communications lost. Maya's heart skipped. All around her, engineers and scientists scrambled, voices rising in panic. She dove into the data, fingers flying, mind racing. The telemetry was clear. A critical software update, pushed just hours before the launch window, had a fatal bug. The main module was drifting, power levels plummeting, the Mars-bound package tumbling off course. If it crashed, years of work and billions of dollars would be lost. Worse, NASA's reputation, America's faith in science, even the dreams of a generation would suffer a blow. The room grew quiet as the senior flight director took the floor, voice tight. All hands. Emergency protocol. Dr. Johnson, you're in command. For a moment, Maya felt her childhood doubts threaten to rise. But just as quickly, she crushed them. The room was full of faces looking to her. Young women, old men, engineers of every color and accent. She thought of her mother's words, "Be undeniable." She snapped into action, voice steady. "Okay, team, we've got a window. If we act fast, we can push a patch before the module hits Mars' atmosphere. We need a new code base, new calculations, every system checked, double-checked, triple-checked. We need this now." The team scattered into action, racing against a clock ticking down to disaster. Maya led from the front, sleeves rolled up, never barking orders, but always inspiring. She assigned roles with precision. "Elena, you handle propulsion code. Ravi, get me comms with Paris and Tokyo. Jacob, I want you on power diagnostics. Maria, make sure our ground station is ready for the relay." She didn't sleep. She barely ate. For 72 hours, Maya was everywhere at once, whiteboarding new code, checking calculations, comforting panicked engineers, making coffee, sharing exhausted smiles. When her team faltered, she gathered them in the break room, voice resolute. "This is what we trained for. I know you're scared. I am too. But if anyone in the world can pull this off, it's us. We're not giving up. Not on my watch." She made every member feel needed, valued. She listened to ideas from the youngest coder. She trusted the wisdom of the old-timers. She led with courage and humility, a leader forged in the fire of 1,000 dismissals. The breakthrough came at 2:14 a.m. on the third night. One of the newest team members, Mei Lin, noticed a subtle pattern in the corrupted code. She hesitated before bringing it to Maya. "I'm not sure it'll work," she whispered. Maya smiled, remembering all the times she'd once felt not sure herself. "We're not here for sure things. We're here for miracles. Show me." Working together, Maya and May traced the bug, patched the code, and, holding their breath, tested it in a simulator. It worked. Now came the ultimate risk. They had one chance to uplink the patch, rewrite the failing software as the module screamed toward Mars. One wrong move, and the entire package could go dark forever. The whole team gathered, voices hushed, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. Maya looked at each one, remembering all the times she'd felt alone in rooms like this, all the times people had doubted her, all the times she'd chosen hope. "It's now or never," she said. "Let's show the world what happens when you believe in the impossible." Across the globe, Millions watched live streams. Newsrooms, classrooms, and living rooms buzzed with anxiety. At home, Maya's parents gathered in front of their TV, clutching hands. Her grandmother, now frail but still sharp, watched from a hospital bed, whispering prayers. Kids in Maya's old neighborhood cheered, their science teacher streaming the event in class, saying, "That's our Maya. That's our hero." Back in Mission Control, Maya gave the order. "Patch uplink. 3, 2, 1, send." The code beamed across the void, data packets racing faster than thought. For 20 agonizing minutes, nothing happened. Then a blip, a signal. The module responded. Power stabilized. Communications returned. The module, battered but alive, corrected its course. Cheers erupted, engineers hugging, laughing, crying. Maya slumped into her chair, a grin breaking through exhaustion. She had led her team through the impossible. Headlines screamed across the world. Dr. Maya Johnson saves Mars mission, a NASA first. Black woman leads NASA team to miracle recovery. Science, diversity, and resilience win the day. The president called to congratulate her. NASA's administrator wept in a televised interview. Young girls everywhere, especially those who looked like Maya, saw their future in her. Back at home, Maya's mother cried, "She did it, Mama. Our baby girl did it." Her grandmother, eyes shining, whispered, "Undeniable." That night, Maya walked outside, alone under the stars, feeling the weight of her journey. She thought of Officer Phillips, of every person who doubted her. But mostly, she thought of the team she built, the miracles they'd made possible together. A new era had begun. And Maya, once doubted, once humiliated, was now the guiding star for a whole generation. The news didn't just make headlines in the scientific community. It swept across America like wildfire. For days, Maya's name and face appeared everywhere, splashed across TV screens, magazine covers, and social media feeds. Interviews played on a loop, her steady, determined voice answering questions, her smile both humble and brilliant. People from all walks of life watched and listened. Dr. Maya Johnson, the black woman who saved the Mars mission and inspired a nation. In her old Houston neighborhood, where she'd grown up riding her bike past crumbling brick buildings and bustling corner stores, the impact was electric. People poured out of their homes, exchanging proud smiles and nods. Kids who had only ever heard about astronauts and scientists on TV now dreamed with new hope. At the local library, the children's librarian made a display, "Black Women in STEM," inspired by Dr. Maya Johnson. Even the corner barbershop hung a banner, "Our hero, Maya Johnson." But not everyone celebrated with unbridled joy. In the same neighborhood, Officer Mark Phillips sat in a worn leather booth at Sunshine Diner, stirring his morning coffee absent-mindedly. The familiar hum of clinking dishes and laughter was interrupted by the newscaster's voice on the mounted TV. And in a historic feat, NASA's Mars mission is back on track thanks to the leadership of Dr. Maya Johnson. Hailed as a trailblazer for women and minorities in science, Dr. Johnson's miracle fix has inspired celebrations nationwide. She is scheduled to return to Houston this week for Heroes Welcome and City Parade. The camera cut to footage of Maya at Mission Control, her arms raised in triumph, surrounded by her diverse team. Phillips froze. The mug trembled in his hand. He knew that face instantly. The memory rushed back, the expo, the sneer on his lips, her NASA badge in her hand. He remembered every word he'd said. And now the same young woman, once so easy to mock, was being praised by presidents, scientists, and school children. His breakfast felt heavy in his stomach. For the first time in years, he felt small. The city of Houston had never seen anything like it. Streets were swept clean, banners hung from lamp posts, and a sense of excitement shimmered in the summer air. The mayor declared Friday Dr. Maya Johnson Day, closing schools and offices so everyone could attend. Families lined the parade route before dawn, some holding signs, "Thank you, Maya. Houston Star. Dream big." Others painting their faces in NASA's signature blue and gold. Maya's parents arrived early, both overwhelmed and beaming. Her mother, who had sacrificed so much, wore her Sunday best and clutched a bouquet of lilies. Her father, tears glimmering in his eyes, gripped her hand tightly. Maya's grandmother, frail but determined, sat in a wheelchair at the very front of the crowd. As the parade began, Maya rode atop a gleaming float decorated with rocket ships, planets, and stars. The city's youth STEM club, in matching t-shirts, marched alongside, waving banners and handing out model rockets to cheering kids. High school bands played triumphant marches, their horns echoing above the roar of the crowd. From her perch on the float, Maya scanned the sea of faces. She saw old teachers, childhood friends, and kids who reminded her of herself. She saw little black girls, faces alight with awe and possibility. The mayor presented her with the key to the city, declaring, "Dr. Maya Johnson, you have shown us all what's possible when talent meets determination." A little farther back in the crowd stood Officer Phillips, wearing plain clothes and sunglasses, hoping not to be noticed. He felt like an outsider in the celebration, but he couldn't look away. The sound of Maya's name, chanted by thousands, rang in his ears. The parade was not just for Maya. It was for everyone who had ever been overlooked or doubted. But Phillips knew, in his heart, it was also a reckoning for him. As the float drew closer, Maya spotted him. Their eyes locked for just a heartbeat. Phillips felt a rush of memories and shame. Her face, that day at the expo, the way he dismissed her with a joke, and how the crowd had laughed. He remembered the NASA badge in her hand, and his own inability to see past her skin. Maya met his gaze, her expression unreadable, compassion, perhaps, or quiet strength. She held her head high and gave him a simple, respectful nod. Then she turned, smiling and waving to the crowd, her spirit unbowed. Phillips watched her pass, his heart heavy. He wished he could say something, apologize, undo the harm. But he knew that today wasn't about him. Today was about Maya and all the people she now represented. After the parade, the city held a ceremony in the main square, packed with cameras and people. Maya stood on stage, flanked by her family and mentors. The governor praised her trailblazing intellect. School children presented her with hand-drawn posters, rockets, astronauts, Maya's smiling face reaching for the stars. When it was her turn to speak, Maya took a deep breath. She thought of all the paths that had led her here, the pain, the struggle, the perseverance. "My journey wasn't easy," she began, her voice steady but full of feeling. "There were times when I was doubted, times when people told me I didn't belong. But every challenge made me stronger. I stand here not just for myself, but for every girl, every child, every dreamer who's been told no because of the way they look or where they come from. You belong. Your dreams are valid. Never let anyone tell you otherwise." The crowd erupted in applause. Cameras flashed. Reporters jotted down every word, eager to spread her message across the nation. Later that afternoon, after the celebrations wound down, Maya found a quiet spot in a city park, away from the noise and crowds. She sat on a bench beneath a sprawling oak, her NASA badge in hand. Unexpectedly, Officer Phillips approached, hat in hand, his steps hesitant. "Dr. Johnson," he began, voice faltering, "I don't expect you to remember me. Years ago at the Science Expo, I treated you terribly. I was wrong. I'm so sorry." Maya looked at him for a long moment. She remembered the sting of that day, his laughter, the humiliation, the crowd. But she also saw the man before her now, humbled, regretful, changed. She nodded, offering a gentle but firm reply. "Thank you for saying that. What matters now is what we do going forward, how we treat those coming after us." Phillips nodded, relief and gratitude in his eyes. He left quietly, Maya's words echoing in his mind. That evening, as the sun set over Houston, Maya walked home with her family. Her phone buzzed with messages, notes from young girls, proud parents, and even old classmates. She'd received thousands of letters, but one stood out. A simple note from a girl in her old neighborhood. "Thank you for showing me I can be anything." Maya smiled, feeling the full weight of what she'd achieved. She had not only led a team to Mars, she had opened a door for countless others. And in the heart of the city, under the warm glow of streetlights, Maya Johnson's story became a living promise that courage, excellence, and kindness can change the world, one dreamer at a time. The story of Dr. Maya Johnson didn't end with her triumphant return home or the ticker tape parade in Houston. In many ways, that was just the beginning. Across the nation, and even around the world, her victory became more than a personal triumph. It was a spark, igniting fires of hope ambition, and courage in places Maya would never see, and in people she would never meet. The first signs of change showed up at NASA itself. In the months after Maya's historic Mars mission, the agency's recruiting office was flooded with applications, thousands more than usual. But this time, the applications looked different. For years, NASA's incoming classes had been mostly male, mostly white, often from privileged backgrounds. But now the halls buzzed with new faces: young women, black students, Latino and Asian Americans, first-generation college graduates, immigrants, and kids who'd grown up with posters of Maya Johnson on their walls. There were stories in every application. A girl from Detroit wrote, "I never thought NASA would want someone like me until I saw Dr. Johnson leading the Mars mission." A boy from rural Alabama explained, "I watched the live stream and thought, if she can do it, maybe I can too." An immigrant from Lagos, Nigeria wrote, "Back home, they play her speech in our classrooms. She makes us believe that science belongs to all of us." Within a year, NASA recorded its most diverse intern cohort in history. More than half were women. More than a third were from backgrounds underrepresented in STEM. Maya, now promoted to Chief Innovation Officer, started a mentorship program, pairing young recruits with veteran engineers and scientists, breaking down the walls that had once kept so many on the outside. At the first meeting, Maya stood before a packed auditorium. She looked into a sea of nervous, eager faces and said, "You don't have to look or sound like everyone else to belong here. You just have to love the work and never let anyone put out your fire. This is your space now, too." Outside the walls of NASA, Maya's name became shorthand for courage and possibility. In schools, her photo hung beside those of other trailblazers: Mae Jemison, Katherine Johnson, Neil Armstrong, Sally Ride. In classrooms from Atlanta to Anchorage, teachers played video clips of Maya addressing the nation, watched by wide-eyed students. They assigned essays. What does Dr. Johnson's journey teach us about resilience? Science fairs changed, too. Now, when girls and minority students presented rocket experiments or software projects, judges would nod and say, "We might have the next Maya Johnson here." School libraries couldn't keep Maya's biography on the shelves. A children's book, Reach for the Stars, the Maya Johnson story, became a bestseller. In art classes, kids drew pictures of rockets, planets, and black women in lab coats, arms crossed in triumph. One teacher in the Bronx wrote her a letter. "Your story helped a shy girl in my class speak up for the first time about her dream to be an engineer. You've made it okay to dream big and be proud of who you are." The media called it the Maya effect. Documentaries aired, interviews went viral, and talk shows debated the meaning of her victory. Suddenly, companies outside of science, tech, medicine, even sports, were using her name to inspire change. Colleges saw a jump in STEM enrollment, especially among women and minorities. Scholarships were renamed after Maya. Companies launched Johnson Fellowships for underrepresented youth in science. Cities large and small declared local Maya Johnson Days. In churches, mosques, and community centers, Maya's story was told as a lesson, not just about brilliance, but about character. Parents encouraged their children to keep going, no matter how hard the road. Young black girls across the country practiced their Maya speech in front of mirrors, dreaming of the day they might stand on a stage and say, "You belong anywhere you dream to be." Not everyone celebrated. Back in Houston, Officer Mark Phillips watched Maya's rise from afar. He saw the banners, the speeches, the joy she brought to so many. He watched kids in his neighborhood walk a little taller. He even saw a young woman in uniform salute Maya's portrait in a mural. But inside, Phillips felt a complicated tangle of emotions: regret, shame, and a quiet awe. The memory of the day he'd mocked her never left him. He thought about it every time Maya's name was mentioned, every time he saw someone who might have been overlooked or doubted. After decades on the force, Phillips retired quietly. He'd spent his career telling himself he was fair, that he just did his job. But Maya's triumph forced him to face the truth. Sometimes one careless moment, one laugh, one sneer, one refusal to believe, could shape the future of another person. He never spoke to Maya again after the parade, but he followed her story. Sometimes late at night, he would watch her speeches and wonder what his life, and hers, might have been if he had shown kindness or simply listened. He spent his last years volunteering at a local youth center, gently encouraging every kid to dream, no matter how unlikely it seemed. It was a quiet atonement, a way to give back what he had once taken away. As for Maya, she never stopped reaching. She traveled the world, speaking to crowds from South Africa to South Korea. She helped design the next Mars mission, then moved to work on exoplanet exploration. Every stage, every interview, every school visit, she told the same truth. No one can keep you from greatness except you. She never sugar-coated the obstacles, never denied the pain. But she always pointed to her own story as proof that resilience is the greatest superpower. It isn't enough to be brilliant, she'd say. You have to be stubborn, persistent, and proud. One day, while visiting a rural school in Alabama, a small girl with glasses and tight braids approached her and asked, "Dr. Johnson, how do you get brave?" Maya smiled. "You don't wait for it. You choose it. Every day. Even when you're scared. Especially when you're scared." She hugged the girl and whispered, "Bravery is doing it anyway. I believe in you." Decades later, when people spoke of NASA's golden age, Maya's name always came up. She was remembered not only for saving the Mars mission, but for opening doors, for changing lives, for making history accessible. Whenever someone doubted themselves because of race, gender, poverty, or fear, Maya's story stood as a reminder. You are the only one who can set your limits. Her words echoed in classrooms, boardrooms, and even quiet living rooms late at night. No one can keep you from greatness except you. And so, in ways both seen and unseen, Dr. Maya Johnson's legacy lived on, not just among the stars, but in the hearts of millions who dared, because of her, to dream.